Welcome to a special episode of the Radio Vagabond. I am joined by Ric Gazarian, who normally lives in Bangkok but is back home with his family in Boston, Massachusetts. Hi, Ric.
Pally, thank you for that welcome.
I've been wanting to speak to you because you are the co-founder of a brand new festival that's going to happen in October in Armenia. It's called the Extraordinary Travel Festival. First of all, Ric, tell me, what is Extraordinary Travel Festival?
Well, it's for extraordinary travelers just like you, Pally. But the whole concept or idea of the Extraordinary Travel Festival is gathering up the world's most accomplished, avid, and adventurous travelers to all get together in person and meet in Armenia in this October.
Yeah. And it's so funny because a lot of the people that I know are coming and a lot of people that are speaking, I know them. I feel we're connected, but I've never met them. A few of them I have already met, but it's going to be so amazing being in a room with so many accomplished travelers.
And I think that's at least half the idea, community. So the old days, like 20 years ago, this event, you would not be able to pull it off. But no matter what your passion is, no matter what your tribe is, you can find them online. And this group of people who are chasing 193, or the type of people who would rather visit Socotra Island off of Yemen instead of Sicily, we've all found each other online. And due to this community, this tribe who have been so close together, we now have this great opportunity to meet in person. Like you said, you look at the speakers, you probably recognize all the names, you recognize the faces, but you've only interacted with them on Facebook or Instagram for 2 years or 5 years. Now you get the opportunity of shaking their hand and having a drink.
If travel is your passion and you want escapism while still upholding your work and family responsibilities, you can travel vicariously from the comfort of your own home. This is the Radio Vagabond. Gotta keep moving.
It's so funny you being on the other end of an interview, because I think a lot of people who know you, they know you from your podcast, Counting Countries, where you actually interview people who are chasing the 193 UN nations in the world. So I think I want to use this opportunity to just hear a little bit about who you are. You've been on this podcast before, but that was a few years ago, and a lot of stuff has happened in your travel quest as well.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, I'm a two-peat guest on the Radio Vagabond, so that's always cool and fun. And we had some fusion Korean tacos on a summer day in Chicago, probably, it might have been 5 years ago. So a lot of time has passed, and you've been on my podcast, Counting Countries. And just like we said, you can find your tribe no matter what your passion these days is online. And I have a very narrow band podcast, right? I'm only interviewing people who have traveled to every country in the world or are in the process of completing that goal. So, if the denominator is 7.5 billion, this isn't a lot of people, but nonetheless, I have the most incredible guests, the deepest travelers, the best stories, and I've got to meet virtually, sometimes in person, all of these incredible travelers who are on the same quest as you and myself, and hundreds or thousands of other people who have now joined this elite group, so to speak.
Yeah. What's your country count right now?
Pally, to say the least, COVID set me back quite some, but I am at 152. So I did a couple of great trips this year and covered some new ground, but I lost probably 20 months during COVID where I did not go to any new countries.
No. And in the intro of your podcast, you have the voiceover say, more people have been to outer space than are in this club.
With a membership of only around 100, it's one of the most exclusive clubs on Earth. In fact, more people have been to outer space than have earned their way into this, the ultimate travel club.
But I have a feeling that every week a new person says, I've completed 193. So do you think you're going to need to change that intro at some point?
Well, you're thinking about or speaking about the great voiceover artist, Evo Terra, who's well known, that voice for people listening to Counting Countries. But yeah, I mean, that's such an interesting question. If you look at Nomad Mania, the stats in 2019 showed 40 people finished the goal in 2019 of every country. Yeah. And you go back 20 years and it was like maybe one person a year was completing the goal. So, I mean, the rate of acceleration is humongous. But of course, you go to 2021 and 2022, those numbers drop from 40 to, let's say, like 7 or 9 people. So there's a tremendous drop off. But conversely, I mean, I can name 2 people, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. So the rate of acceleration on the space side is actually even greater. It's insane. So I don't know if the tagline of more people have been to outer space, I don't think I'll need to change. The number of people who've been to every country in the world, that needs to be updated. But I think outer space is growing at a much more accelerated rate. It's crazy.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you in part by Hotels25.com. Whenever you need a hotel anywhere in the world, go to Hotels25.com. That would get you the best price. Hotels25.com searches a bunch of the biggest hotel sites in one simple search. Hotels25.com.
Good afternoon.
Can I help you?
Yes, my name is Bond.
Radio Vagabond.
Let's get back to talking about ETF, short for Extraordinary Travel Festival. It takes place in Armenia. You touched a little bit about it before, that it's more cool to go to Yerevan, Armenia than say Sicily or Paris or Boston. But why specifically Armenia?
Yeah, a couple of different things went into the choosing of the location. I mean, if you look at the opposite ends of the spectrum, I mean, you could pick a great world city like New York or Paris. All of us in the community have been to these cities. Many of us love them. But when you're thinking thematically Extraordinary Travel Festival, one, I just don't think it makes the most amount of thematic sense to have it in Paris or Amsterdam. The second part of it is, let's be honest, those cities are very expensive. On the far end of the spectrum, in a perfect world, this event might be held in Mogadishu. But it's difficult to have 150 people in Mogadishu in a safe, secure environment. So I kind of look for something in the middle, Armenia. Developing country, long history, beautiful nature, great food, a little off the beaten path, but still great infrastructure. I mean, one of the most walkable cities, Yerevan, great restaurant scene, and just, it's half the cost of Paris. So a couple of those reasons. And then the bonus reason is I'm ethnically Armenian, Pale. My grandparents hail from that region, and I've actually been to Armenia over 20 times every year since 2003. So I felt familiar with the city. I had some contacts and relationships there that kind of paved the way for setting up the festival there.
And I take it that you don't go to Armenia almost every year, not just because you have the connection, but also because you like the place.
I mean, it really does feel like a second home, even though I do have several second homes. But yeah, I mean, I have walked those streets so often in Yerevan. You'll see, it's, the same guy selling juice that you bought 10 years ago, randomly hailing a taxi driver, and it's a guy from 12 years ago. So there's a lot of familiarity. I've got a lot of friends there again. Relatively, it's a tiny, tiny country, but there is really a lot to see and do there. So yeah, one of my favorites.
Yeah. I can't wait to go. And I'm actually going on a little bit of a trip before. I'm starting in Georgia and then Azerbaijan and then finishing up in Armenia. So that's going to be exciting.
Yeah, great. I mean, Caucasus is a region loved by many, and rightfully so. And then for those, you can exit up the south and even head over to Iran.
Yeah. And as a part of the conference, you also have some pre-trips and some post-trips that people can join if they want to travel as a group.
Yeah. So, we've got some great partners at the festival. I mean, whether it's people like you or Harry Mitsidzis or Charles Veely. But for instance, we're hosting 2 trips before the festival begins. And I kind of view Charles Veely, founder of Most Traveled People, and Harry, founder of Nomad Mania. I mean, kind of in our world, these guys are celebrities, arguably the most traveled people in the world. It's hard to, definitively say who's the most, but they are the tip of the very top. So you have this cool opportunity to travel with these travel legends. So Charles is hosting a trip in Georgia and Armenia, hitting, and both of these trips are designed by these men. So you get to travel, in essence, their style. And Harry divides Armenia into 3 Nomad Mania regions, north, central, south. And again, here you have a great opportunity to travel with Harry and see Armenia through his eyes.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the conference itself. You got an amazing lineup of speakers. Tell me a little bit about who's speaking.
Yeah, this is the tough thing here, meaning if you do go to extraordinarytravelfestival.com and take a look at the speakers, I mean, there are just so many awesome people. And also in the same case, at some level, the attendees and the speakers are interchangeable, meaning there's so many guys in the audience who are incredibly deep, adventurous travelers who have so many great stories to tell.
Yeah.
So, I mean, part of this is I'm hoping there's a second festival and we can just give more opportunity to more people to speak. But looking at this year, I mean, I'm looking at the speakers right now. I'll start off with Tony Giles. Tony is a British man. I think he's somewhere in the 130 UN country count. Tony is completely blind.
So I was born with a very rare eye condition. Means I've got no color vision, but I could see black and white images as a child, shapes and shadows, well into about the age of 7, 8, 9, and then the light sensitivity started to go. I went deaf when I was 6 in both ears. Again, nerve damage, same problem as my eyes, so it could be connected, but no one's really sure.
And he travels a ton of the time independently by himself. But on top of that, which makes it even more impressive to me, he is taking public transportation. He is couch surfing. At some level, I mean, this is the most courageous and trustful man in travel, because he'll end up in some tiny village in Pakistan, not speaking Urdu, by himself, and he has to somehow find that next bus to the next town up the Karakum highway. So this guy is such an impressive individual to me. So I am really excited to see him speak.
And also just walking the streets in many of these countries, the pavement is probably sometimes not there. There's definitely going to be holes in the pavement. And it's wow, I'm so impressed.
Yeah. One other person to mention, but again, I could do everybody on this list. Paul Barbado, better known as Barbs, or better known as Geography Now.
It's time to learn geography now!
Every time I go to a new country, I have to go and see one of his videos. Geography Now is an amazing YouTube channel.
110%. So as you're saying, first of all, this guy has 3 million subscribers on YouTube, which to me is pretty impressive. And like you, I've been watching his videos over the years. And for those of you who are unaware, he is in the process of creating a video for every single country. He just told me he's about ready to roll out Tunisia. So he's getting to his end of the quest of 193 for videos.
Yeah, because he's doing it alphabetically. So, and he's almost at U now. He's in the T's. So I was so glad when I was in Tanzania earlier this year. He just put out the Tanzania video.
Timing is everything.
Yeah.
So Paul Meek, he has, in my opinion, he has a great personality, and they're awesome videos and great introductions when you get ready to visit a new country. So this should be part of everybody's research, from Wiki Travel to Lonely Planet to every passport stamp that you watch a couple of videos. He himself is going to every country in the world. His main focus is on the videos. He told me he's in his 70s in terms of his country count. But I'm excited to see him and meet him. So it's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah. And then I also see that my good friend Francis Tapon is on the list. And I had the pleasure of meeting him at TBEX in Spain earlier this year. And he just did all of the 54 countries in Africa. And he's an amazing public speaker. So I can't wait to hear what he has to say.
Yeah, and I'm on the same page as you, another fellow podcaster, Francis. And it's all these superlatives. It's how do you describe these people?
Yeah.
But Francis basically bought some old Land Rover for $10,000. I forget what it was. Left Europe, drove it into, I believe, Morocco, and stayed in Africa, stayed on the continent for 5 years, visiting every single country.
It was part of a journey to visit all 54 African countries. I spent about 5 weeks in each country. I was climbing the tallest mountain of every African country, and I picked up 3,000 hitchhikers.
And climbing the highest mountain in every country.
Almost. So,
almost,
statistics, 51 out of 54, he climbed the highest peak. And some of these are serious peaks. And my other little favorite trivia from Francis, he has a unique strategy. He loved picking up hitchhikers. Yeah. He estimated he rode with 3,000 plus strangers during his 5 years in Africa. And we'll save his strategy for when he speaks, but a unique take on meeting strangers.
Yeah, he even did a TEDx talk about that, picking up 3,000 hitchhikers. Mm. Yeah.
The ultimate destination for armchair travelers who are looking for inspiration to get out into the real world and let loose their wanderlust. This is the Radio Vagabond. Gotta keep moving.
You gotta have guts to be on stage in front of that audience, because whenever you say something that is a little bit trivial, people might say, yeah, I know that, because the audience, they're accomplished as well.
Yeah, 110%. Kind of what I was saying earlier. You could sub in all the speakers on the stage and grab most of the people in the audience and have another fascinating event just on that switch alone.
Yeah. And I'm going to bring my microphone to Armenia and see if I can find a quiet corner and pull in as many people as I probably can and pick their brains, because just the crowd itself is going to be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it'll probably be the greatest concentration of, most accomplished travelers gathered in one spot, I would imagine.
How many people do you expect to attend the conference?
We have 100 plus coming now. As of the date we are recording, we still have about 2.5 months. So I don't know if that means another 20 tickets, 40 tickets, 60 tickets. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But it's a good sized crowd. I mean, it's not 20 people and it's not 2,000. So.
No. And just to make it clear, you don't have to have been in every country in the world to come.
Yeah, and that's a great comment or question, Pale. And someone has asked this before. I like to provide an anecdote. Many of us have heard of Warren Buffett. Warren is either, he's one of the top 5 wealthiest persons in the U.S. or the world. And every year he has his own festival in his home state of Nebraska. Like 20,000 people go every year to hear him speak. It's actually on my bucket list to do as well. But my point being, the people going are very, very interested in investing. But, of course, none of them who are going have $100 billion in wealth. So it's the same concept here. You might not have traveled to every country in the world. You might not have even been to 100 or even 50 countries. But as long as you consider yourself an avid, enthusiastic traveler who would enjoy hearing these stories, you're more than welcome. And, and all the way up. So from one country to 193, as long as you consider yourself an avid and adventurous traveler, or at least like to hear those stories, it's a good fit.
Yeah. Before we wrap it up, apart from the talks and the festival itself, I guess you have some events going on at night.
Yeah. So, of course, we spoke about community, right? So part of it is, I think, hearing these great talks. I mean, it's a unique opportunity to have all these guys on stage. So, yeah, you're in a hotel conference room. It's not going to be boring. It's not going to be dry. Hearing these great speakers, it'll be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, October 14, 15, 16. And at nighttime, we are programming fun things at night. So Friday night is a party at a cool bar with music and drinks. And Saturday night is a group dinner. So dinner for all of us at a great restaurant, which we'll be announcing soon. Again, because part of it is hearing the speeches. The other part is community, getting to meet people, building up bonds. This is a great opportunity to find a new travel friend or get some more advice, etc. The one other thing to add on, Pally, is we mentioned the 2 trips before the festival. And I just got word with my contact, Lucina in Armenia, 30 minutes before our conversation. We've been working on a post-conference trip for the last 2 months, but we're trying to make it special, meaning it's not an off-the-shelf product that anybody can buy. So we're putting together a cool day trip on Monday, the 17th, and I'll touch on Mount Aragats, which is the highest point in Armenia, which also has a Soviet-era astronomical research center. It's semi-abandoned. It used to have hundreds of people. Now only a couple of people work there. But we have arranged with the director of this facility to have a private tour of the facility, access to some of the underground tunnels, and a Soviet lunch in their cafeteria, on top of a couple of other things. So that will be a very cool, unique experience.
Yeah. So if this resonates to some of the listeners, how do you get tickets?
Yep. So the same old, extraordinarytravelfestival.com. You can buy an attendee ticket. You can save $50. Use the code ETF. And you will get to come to all the great speeches and all the nighttime fun activities.
Yeah, pretty simple. And I will make sure to put the link to that in the notes section for this episode. I guess that's it, Rick. I cannot wait to see you again. We've already met in Manila, Chicago, Berlin, and London, and pretty soon Armenia.
Awesome, Pally.
Thank you so much, Rick.
Thank you.
We will now be arriving at the end of this installment of the Radio Vagabond. Please stand clear of the closing doors.
My name is Palabo, and I gotta keep moving. See ya.
Radio Vagabond.
Produced by RadioGuru.co.uk.